Hi YouTube. So we're going back and working on stuff that can give beginners issues and how to solve them and how to diagnose them and all that. So we did centering yesterday. Today we're going to talk about the opening of the piece. So opening, people do lots of different ways. People do it with thumbs, with a finger, with a whole hand. I do it with the side of my finger and my thumb. If you haven't seen my other videos, check them out before you go on so that you at least got a baseline of why I do what I do. But in terms of opening it, you want elbows anchored and all that. You want your thumb next to your fingers, and you're going to press down in the center. Now, if you're doing this wrong, a couple things can happen. One, clay could be building up. Clean my fingernail off nice. Clay could be building up on your fingernail because you're too far towards noon, towards 12 o'clock, or you could be getting a nipple in the middle, and that's because you're too far towards 6 o'clock. So I'm going to try to do both of those here before I wreck the ball of clay. So pushing over here, you push down, and clay stick squirts out of the middle. That would be pushing too far towards 6 o'clock. To get rid of that, you push until that pops off and remove it. That's an easy one. Now if you're going across, this one's harder for me to do. This one always messes up. So if you find that you're not centering, it's probably because you're pushing too far towards 12 o'clock. What happens, you'll get like an undercut, clay will build up on your fingernail. To get rid of that, you're just going to kind of smooth it out into the rest of the wall and press down and reestablish the center. So those are both pretty easy things that you can fix. It's just being aware of why they're happening and catching them before it becomes too much of an issue. If you're not centered as you're doing this, say you started to open it up way before the clay was centered enough to be actually opening, you could get left with an issue that's all bumpy. We'll kind of talk about that in just a second. Well, let's go with not deep enough yet. So say you get to the point here and you flatten out the bottom and you get your needle tool, you go, oh, I forgot to check to see how deep my bottom was. And you take your needle tool and you check it and you've got 1.5 inches, which would make a fantabulous anchor or doorstop. But right now you're trying to make a vase or something. You check it, you got 1 inch thick at the bottom, you're like, oh, now what do I do? Well, a lot of people just go right back down and try to center. What happens, I don't know if you can see that start to happen here, is that you get a second wall to form in the bottom. Zoom in. Ooh, look at that zoom. So when you get that second wall to form right here, it can cause all sorts of issues. So what you want to do is actually start from the wall and press down on the wall and not just in the middle. And that will help push that out rather than having it form another wall. So there's a shadow on that, it's because of the light, but it's just the side of my fingers, it's dents from the side of my finger. Zoom back out so it stops the autofocus freaking out here. So right now, let's say it wasn't centered. So we'll try to uncenter this some. To fix an uncentered pot, what you want to do is kind of make it into like a cone up, cone down situation again by kind of pushing the clay up into a wall and then pushing it back down. Push it up. You rip it up and you rip it down until it is centered again. So you're kind of coning up and coning down in a wall. This is called tunnel centering, and sometimes I'll use this on really large chunks of clay that I'm trying to center because it's too hard while it's in a cone to get all the clay really mixed up and centered the way I want. I'll get it rough centered and then go to do this to get it finally centered. And the last thing that a beginner will do is I say to open up the size of your sponge in the bottom, especially when you're starting. And what they'll do, they'll get so excited that this is working and that they've gotten to this stage and they just keep going and going and now they've got this thing. And for a beginner, this can be really hard to throw into a cylinder. So the only real fix for this is to collar in. And as you collar in, it's important that you press down on the top of it as you collar in. If not, when you start pulling up, this part here will start to become a wall and will be really thin. So I'm going to make sure it's nice and wet. I'm going to collar in and press down as I do it. And then I would tunnel center it like we did before. So those are some of the major issues that you have when you're a beginner trying to throw. And now, in terms of the opening it up, you'd be able to just pull a ball. And we'll talk about the whole ball pulling issues in the next video.